Hey guys, it's Dr. Cratio here. I am a chiropractor in London, Ontario, Canada. Today we're going to be talking about how to protect your lumbar spine. This is the way this video is going to break down. Number one, I have to give you an interview. Man, I'm having trouble today. An overview of why it is important and why you should care about protecting your lumbar spine. Number two, I'm going to show you what not to do. And number three, I'm going to show you things to do to become pain-free, strong, mobile, so these things don't keep repeating. Okay, and the reason you need to care about this is you cannot replace your lumbar spine. The reason that this is the theme this week is last week I sat across from very, very young people who I've sent for films, and when their films and their x-rays came back, the amount of degeneration in their spine for somebody who is 20 and 30 and early 30s, it's extreme for that age. And the problem is this, is if it's not handled correctly right now, it does not typically get better. The older that you get, it gets worse. And like I said, you can't replace it. So if you're watching this video because you're in pain, there's gonna be some stuff that you can definitely take away from it. But the big takeaway is, please work on your spine, whether you're in pain or not, because the way that it gets injured is not from the one time picking up something or tying up your shoes. And I'll explain why in a second, but it's micro trauma over time, and then you have that last little bit of trauma and you're like, oh, I don't know what happened, I just bent over to tie my shoe, or I bent over to pick something up and I couldn't stand up. Okay, so please take care of your spine. Your future self that's mobile, that can pick up their grandchildren and have a better life will definitely thank you. So this is your spine. Let's talk about what not to do. And again, this might contradict, some of the advice that you've heard, and I'm asking you just to think about it. Especially if you've been doing these things for a long time, it's challenging when somebody just says, well, don't do it, but at least think about it. So this is the way that you're anatomically constructed. This is what your spine looks like. You'll notice that there's these discs. It's pretty much an encasing for your spinal cord and your organs and your bones to attach to. So my point in telling you that is your spine loves stability. It loves being braced. It loves being nice and compact and tight. It does not like moving. So it can move, right? The fact that it can move doesn't necessarily mean that it should move. So what does that mean? So that means that the absolute worst physiological force or trauma that you can put on your lower spine is to have some type of weight. So think of like a squat bar or be carrying something heavy while you're, bending and then twisting at the same time. And I watch people in the office, I see this all the time. I see them tie up their shoes, they bend and twist off the table to pick something up. We do it all the time, right? And we do it because we are unaware of the consequences of doing it. So you really want to avoid as much movement from your spine as possible. Your spine should be braced, the muscles of your core should be tight, keeping everything nice and compact. And we want to keep this structure, especially in the lower spine, we want to keep it as tight and compact as possible, right? Avoid bending, avoid extending or twisting for long periods of time, or standing. Like when we stand on one foot and then we stand on the other foot and we're always shifting weight. That is very tough on your lumbar spine. So those are the movements that you want to avoid. Okay, and the reason again that you want to avoid them is because that micro trauma will add up, and then that's where the problems happen. Now, should you avoid yoga? No, you shouldn't, but you might want to. The issue is this: every time you move your lower spine, it feels good, right? So I can pick on chiropractic because I'm a chiropractor. There's plenty of documented cases where we don't want to be putting a force into the lumbar spine because there's been tremendous amount of damage done to the lumbar spine, but the person will say something like, well, you know, it feels like it needs to crack and then it feels better. Well, yeah, it feels better while you're leaving the office, but long term, we need to bring more stability to that part of your area, not more mobility, right? And the same thing is true with stretching and with yoga. It feels better while you're doing it, but it might not be the best thing long term. So I'm not saying, you know, don't see your chiropractor, or don't do yoga, or don't stretch. Those are all wonderful things. Just understand how to leverage them appropriately, okay? Now, in terms of what you should be doing. So the way that your body's built, again, we just talked about, we want stability in the lumbar spine. So that means that we want mobility in your hips, we want stability in your knees, and then we want mobility in your ankles. So if you're looking to improve your mobility and bring more stability to your lower spine, you want to be improving your ankle range of motion, and you want to be improving your hip range of motion. Okay, so a couple of really simple exercises, and I'm totally wearing the most incorrect pants for today. But for ankle mobility, we always want to be training our ankles with our feet on the ground. We want them weight bearing. So something as simple as, you know, 90-90, making sure your heel stays on the ground, and then you're going to lean forward and you're going to get a stretch here. Really simple test for anything mobility wise, hip or ankle, is I want you to, hopefully you can't see my butt, but I want you to get into your squat, or as best of a squat as you can. So this is your starting stance, and then you're going to perform the exercise that I'm going to show you. So you're going to do your ankle mobility. The way that you're going to do this is you're going to lean, you know, on your knee, keep your heels down, and apply at least 30 seconds in this position. Same with the other side. And then recheck your squat again. And you should notice that the squat is a little bit easier. You should be able to be more upright. Your back should be a little bit more straight. You should feel more comfortable. That's because bringing more mobility, if I gain a centimeter in my ankle moving forward, it's going to really impact everything else. Exercise number 2 that I want to show you, there's a ton of these, is a hip opener like this. So get your leg as close. I have pretty decent hip mobility. You can see that I'm almost parallel with my leg. If you can't get it that far, that's okay. Start here, start wherever you can get your leg. Keep your spine nice and straight. And again, I apologize for tight pants, but all I'm gonna be doing is I'm just gonna be leaning this way, opening up my hip in here. Again, hold for 30 seconds. Repeat to both sides. And then again, retest. It should be easier. Another hip mobility one that I really love, I can hold on to my shelf here now. I've shown this before, spine nice and straight. I'm gonna be working on my right hip, out, glute flexed. Then we're gonna be opening up my pelvis this way and coming down like this. If you want to get really fancy, I might fall over doing this, but the way to best do this, because it has the most nerve system engagement, is like an airplane when we were kids. So like that. Those are 3, there's lots more, but those are 3 really, really simple ones that you want to do. The other thing that you want to do is you want to engage the muscles that are responsible for keeping this braced, okay? So, exercise number 1 is firing your glutes, down on the ground, heels close to your butt, squeeze going up. Again, hold for 30 seconds. This is just getting my core ready to stabilize and to fire. Another good one is the bird dog. And another really simple one if you're new to this, put your hands together like this under your back. Elbows off the ground. And all I'm gonna do is, it's gonna look like I'm bringing my head off the ground. I'm not bringing my head off the ground, but what I am doing is contracting my core. And when I contract my core, it brings my head off the ground. So do those. You can do them every day. Hip mobility, again, you want the movement to come from your ankles and your hips. not from your spine and not from your knees. And you want your core to be ready to go to contract, okay? If you have any comments or questions, please post them below. I'd love to answer them. Hope you're enjoying the beautiful weather, and we'll talk to you next time.